Belief and the law, standing strong, standing tall. From the roots to the rules, we uncover it all. Truth and justice, the plan's divine. CannaBama's here, it's education time.
Ground it up, put it in my my little pre-rolled, and I am getting ready to smoke it.
So would you do a stunt like that again?
Oh, absolutely. Because it raises awareness, and I'm a nobody from nowhere, but with social media and the ability to have a voice, like that's how you have a voice.
This is Sarah Stogner, the elected district attorney for the 143rd Judicial District of Texas. And she's making headlines after posting a video on TikTok of her about to smoke a joint.
I'm really tired of our elected officials not doing what's best for the people on the ground. Me, law enforcement on the ground, we've got real crimes to prosecute, right? We've got oil field theft, we've got rape, we've got murder. And right now, we really can't enforce the law as written on marijuana laws because of the testing requirements.
Stogner says she bought the joint legally in New Mexico, but posted it to protest Texas laws and a proposed ban on hemp-derived THC.
I'm wanting to draw attention to help say, look, we've got great law enforcement folks. Let's let them stay busy with the things that really matter. And if we want to protect kids, then we need to legalize, and we need to regulate it, and we need to tax it, and just like we do with alcohol.
She's no stranger to making bold moves. In 2022, she went viral for a nearly naked campaign ad while running for the Texas Railroad Commission. This, she admits, is just her style.
I have a little bit of a history of trying to get attention. We're out here kind of in the middle of nowhere, and people forget about us. So yeah, absolutely. The goal was to draw attention to an issue that I think maybe the traditional media hasn't been covering.
When it comes to backlash from her own party, Stogner says she's used to being an outlier.
I would say that I'm kind of an outcast in the party anyways, right? I'm a lifelong constitutional conservative, but I don't take orders very well. Probably, maybe politically, there would be blowback if the party was giving me any support, but the party doesn't give me support now.
She wants change, starting at a federal level, and believes Texas should follow other states' lead.
I think, first of all, on the national level, we need to see it decriminalized. It needs to be descheduled. It doesn't need to be a controlled substance. But I think that really we could learn from places like Oklahoma and Mississippi with what they've done with their medical programs. And I think that that would be a better step in the right direction. But I'm not going to be happy until it's a plan.
Her message to voters, lawmakers, and the officers she works with.
For law enforcement, I would say, just trust me that I really am trying to make our jobs easier and to let us be able to focus on true, real, violent crimes. And for our lawmakers, I would say, listen to your constituents and the polls and stop listening to your donors.
Stogner says she doesn't know what the political fallout will be, but she's prepared for it. And if making her point means lighting up again, she says she won't hesitate. In Monahans, Cameron Leal, News West 9.
Belief and the law, standing strong, standing tall. From the roots to the rules, we uncover it all.
You're up.
It's time for Sweet Home CannaBama, a show that'll answer all your questions, provide accurate information, and dispel the myths of cannabis. And have your specific questions answered by emailing Jennifer@CannaBama.com or text or call.
Gotta get that changed.
706. And now, all things cannabis in Alabama. Here's your host, Jennifer Boozer.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Jennifer Boozer Stewart. Our phone number is 251-255-5155. That is the number for CannaBama. We are still taking calls. I just took 2 calls in the last half hour waiting for the show to start. People still don't realize that we are no longer in business. I've also been recommending a couple of businesses in the area that are owned by people that I know and trust and respect. But yeah, a lot of people are still, one of the phone calls was asking, did we have flour? So I don't know how people don't know yet that smokable flour is a Class C felony, but that guy was really shocked. It's crazy to me how they can create these laws and these new criminal charges, but you know, half of the citizens of the state don't even realize that they exist. Anyway, you can call me 251-255-5155. And if you have questions, suggestions on what we can do, if you know of anybody hiring, I am still unemployed. It's not funny. But anyway, yeah, you can find us on social media. We're here every Monday night at 7:00 on FM Talk 106.5. We're broadcasting live via StreamYard on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So we are trying to get our message out far and wide. I want to begin. Wow, it's been quite a week since the last time we met, and a lot of terrible, grave things have happened. A lot of people reacting in extremes, and just a general heaviness I think that everybody feels. I wasn't sure what to say. And this morning, my friend John Grady, who is a veteran and a hemp farmer in Missouri, he is a close friend of mine. He's been on the show. He's an incredible man. He sent me this. I guess it's an outpouring from his heart. And so what do you think? And I'm like, this is perfect. Can I read this on the show? So I want to read to you what my friend John Grady wrote, because I agree with every single word. Quo vadis, America. And quo vadis is Latin for where are you going? A single shot cracked across the campus and cut down a man in his prime. Half the country mourned, half the country celebrated, and somewhere in between the silence was deafening. Imagine that, a nation so divided that we now toast the death of our countrymen if they happen to think differently. Where are you going, America? Quo vadis. This is not about turning Charlie Kirk into a martyr. He was not. He was a man, flesh and blood, who believed in the power of dialogue and the necessity of hearing out even those who despised him. For that, he was murdered. To demonize him or canonize him, both missed the truth. The tragedy is not just his death, but what it says about us. We live in a world that was created good, but free will and sin have twisted it. Evil exists and it wounds us. Anger at that evil is proper, even holy. God himself burns against injustice, but the danger is letting anger metastasize into bitterness, into the hardened heart that no longer knows grace. There is a time to grieve, a time to be angry, and a time to seek acceptance, but none of those can be our final resting place. We must move through them, not camp in them. To stop at anger is to rot from the inside. To stop at grief is to drown. To stop at acceptance without action is to grow numb. So what will we do with the rage? We use it. Anger can be fuel. It can defend truth, protect the vulnerable, and call out evil, but only if it is yoked to something greater than itself. Left alone, it destroys. Guided by Christ, it builds. Because the temptation today is either to lash out in vengeance or to surrender in despair. Both are the purple pill, the world's sky balloon, false comforts that enslave. Christ offers another way, the red pill, the harder way. It is the cross, where suffering is not meaningless but redeemed, where anger is transfigured into justice and grief becomes the seedbed of love. That is the question Fulton Sheen once asked of this nation. Will we choose Christ or choose the void? The Constitution, politics, movements, they all crumble without a moral center. And at that center cannot be manufactured by will or ideology. It can only be found in Christ, in the God who breaks into our darkness, not to erase suffering, but to walk with us through it. Charlie Kirk's death should shake us, but not to hatred. It should wake us to see that our sojourn here is short, our divisions many, and our peace fragile. The answer is not in victory over one another, but in surrender to the one who conquered death. Quo vadis, America? Where are you going? Into more blood, more celebration of death, more hardened hearts? Or will we turn again to Christ, the only place where truth, love, and peace meet? The road lies open. One pill offers comfort, tribe, and empty victory. The other offers fire, scars, and truth. Choose wisely. For what is real will cost everything, but it is the only way home. And thank you so much to John Grady, who put those thoughts and feelings that I was having into words that I couldn't have myself. I do want to add this, that if my faith as a follower of Jesus Christ is not obvious to you, I ask for forgiveness. And I pray for each of us tonight that we will always strive to be like Jesus. We know our humanity will make us falter, but we can show grace and mercy to each other, just like Jesus shows us every day of our lives. We all fall short of the glory of God. May he make us more like him and less like this world. Okay, so let's get into the show. I feel like those things needed to be said, and that's all we're going to say. If you don't know Jesus, I may not sound or seem or look like the best director to him, but I'll be willing. I know a guy. I know a few guys. And if I can't talk you through it, I'm happy to connect you to someone who can. I do want to say thank you. I have been getting a couple of promotions in this life from organizations that I have worked with for years, and wanted to announce those and say thank you first to the National Industrial Hemp Coalition. I have been the Alabama chair for the Alabama chapter, the Alabama Industrial Hemp Coalition, but I have just been given a new position as vice president of the national organization, and I'm going to be helping, obviously, with media and things like that. So thank you to the National Industrial Hemp Coalition. If you are a member, you're probably watching from one of our 50-something pages. Shonda Clausen, who is the founder and the head of the Texas chapter, she keeps us going out on all 50 state pages, the national page and the international page. So thank you very much for the support from the NIHC. Also, I am now the communications director for the Alabama Cannabis Coalition, and I'm working hand in hand with Marty and the board to help vet and endorse candidates in Alabama, from the local city level municipality elections to all the way up to governor, to vet the ones that are pro hemp and cannabis and encourage the people of Alabama to be single issue voters. That means that regardless of party lines, we've got to get more people in office who are pro cannabis and hemp, because the people of Alabama have been suffering, and the businesses in Alabama have been suffering greatly after the passage of HB 445. And the Alabama Cannabis Coalition has a great desire to provide the citizens with access to plant medicine for the sick, suffering, and dying, as do I. And I'm honored to be their communications director. And we have a survey. If you'll go to my Jennifer Boozer Stewart page, and lots of other businesses around the state, we have a survey on HB 445 for the citizens to fill out. We've got well over 5,500 so far, trying to gather data to present to legislators going into the 2026 legislative session in an attempt to hopefully either repeal or severely amend HB 445 so that we can reestablish access to the products that the people of Alabama have been used to having access to over the last 7 years, and hopefully help the small businesses that are still struggling and hanging on to flourish once again. And those of us who have not and who have closed, we would surely like to get back to it eventually. And so we need the help of the public. If you see this survey, please fill it out, share it. And if you can't find it, hit me up on Facebook or email me, jenniferbruiserstewart@gmail.com. I'll make sure you get that. When we come back from the break, we're going to meet our guest, a DA from Texas who lit a joint on TikTok and set the whole Lone Star State on fire. Stay with us.
The Humble Hemp Shack has been your home for safely sourced hemp products since 2019. Now we are asking for your help. Alabama House Bill 445 was recently signed into law and will significantly impact Alabamians' right to safe, quality hemp products. This bill takes money from the hands of farmers and small business owners and puts it right back into the hands of dealers. You can help by supporting local hemp businesses and by donating to the legal fund found on thehumblehempshack.com, paid for by the Humble Hemp Shack, LLC.
We weren't sure adoption would happen for us, but when it did, it happened threefold.
Mary and her husband first met their 3 children when they became their foster parents. Little did they know that their house would become the siblings' forever home.
We had to help them adjust to the idea that they wouldn't have to leave. Children in foster care have lived and survived so much. We had to help them process their trauma. And now to hear our children say that they know they have a mother and father who take care of us, teach us, and love us means everything.
The Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption is committed to finding safe, permanent homes for the longest waiting children in foster care.
I not only love these kids, I am just so proud of them.
You can help. Visit davethomasfoundation.org.
Welcome back to Sweet Home CannaBama. Now with all the information you want about cannabis, here's your host, Jennifer Boozer.
Welcome back to Sweet Home CannaBama, everybody. Tonight we're going to be talking with Sarah Stogner. She is the DA for the 143rd Judicial District in Texas, West Texas, oil country to be exact. She was born in Alabama, which is very cool. She grew up in Florida and California, ended up back in Huntsville for middle and high school. She went to LSU for undergrad and law school. Go Tigers. Sorry, honey. She practiced oil and gas law until she was elected DA and took office January 1st. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Ever since I saw your video and all of the brouhaha over your video, I was anxious to get to talk to you myself because that was a very bold thing that you did. Let's get into that. But first, tell us who you are really and what you do because, you know, DA, what does a DA do? I have some good ideas, but tell us what you do out there in Texas.
Yeah, so what I'm doing now as district attorney is I'm prosecuting felony cases.
Okay.
So if it's a felony case committed in Ward, Reeves, or Loving County, I have jurisdiction to prosecute it.
Okay. All right. So when you get arrested and get a felony charge and go to court, you are the one putting the bad guys away.
That's me.
Okay. Well, let's talk about TikTok. You decided to light up a pre-roll on your TikTok account. You announced that you were going to do it in protest, I guess. I don't know. Why? Tell us, why smoke a pre-roll on your TikTok account as a DA in a super conservative state like Texas? What was your motivation?
Right. So I actually wrote an op-ed that was published in the Houston Chronicle back in May when Senate Bill 3 and the total THC ban that Texas was trying to pass was pending, right? And as that continued on, and I'd actually been in training the morning I decided to do it about a week out, and I'd been in training for prosecuting and like the sexual assault nurse examinations. So when a child is sexually assaulted, they go to the emergency room, and you hope that they have a sane nurse there that can give the proper exam.
Right.
And, like how a hymen's supposed to look at 6 years old versus
Wow.
3 years old versus 10 years old. Right. And just really, and these cases a lot of times don't go prosecuted if there's not DNA or there's not just kind of this quote unquote perfect case that is easier to prosecute. Right. And so especially out here, people, sexual assault doesn't just stick to one race or one socioeconomic class. It's prevalent, everywhere. And as a society, we don't talk about it enough because it's horrible. And just because we don't talk about it doesn't mean it's not happening. And so what happens inevitably is it makes it difficult for jurors to fathom that their neighbors and their friends and their coaches and the teachers and the preachers and the police officers, and it's not stranger danger, right?
Right. No, we see it every day. I don't know if you've heard of this big bunker case in Bibb County in Alabama, where they found this underground bunker, and there were adults that were basically selling these 6 or 10, I can't remember, kids as little as 3 years old. And one guy was the father of like 4 or 5 of them. And they were charging people money to come in, and they had these children chained to furniture and all kinds. It was horrible. And this is just unfolding in Alabama. So I can imagine in a state as big as Texas, I can't fathom the number of cases, but you're right. It's every day between the child porn and the sexual assault. It's cops, it's coaches, it's teachers, it's pastors. You're right. It's people in the most trusted positions, people that the rest of society looks up to, because nobody knows what goes on behind closed doors. And a lot of times the children being abused, it's by their own family members or the people who are left in charge of their care. And I can't imagine sitting through training like that, just having to face the reality of that. It has to be a soul-crushing experience.
Yeah, I was like, I really would like to go home and so could do it right.
Right. Yes.
Woo.
The cortisol levels being maxed out when you're talking about these things. And let's face it, as women, we're all too familiar with things like this. Even if we weren't abused as small children, the statistics for sexual assault, harassment, things like that for women are so high. I know, I've experienced it myself. And, it's a horrific thing for people to have to face, and nobody wants to admit it is happening underneath everyone's noses. So the stress of being the one to have to either prosecute or not has to be incredibly stressful and frustrating for you.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's just, I want to seek justice for victims, right? And as a community, I want my community to be safe. And what we see is it's these generational abuse, trauma cycles with crime and addiction and all physical abuse, sexual abuse, right? I mean,
right.
And I think as a society, we need to focus more on the realities that we have and less of the rhetoric, right? And I think that your intro was really touching. I'm the same way. I'm a Christian, and I don't always model it in the most traditional ways, right?
That's right. That's why I included we all fall short of the glory of God, because I know I got to thinking, a lot of times I will say, the only thing I preach as much as my faith is cannabis, and the only thing I love more than cannabis is Jesus. But I know, especially in the frustrations of what Alabama has been doing, not only to the people, but to my industry and me personally, you get sucked into the anger, and the anger becomes bitterness if you don't keep it in check. And I am afraid that I haven't been a very good model of what a Christian should be like out of frustration. And I'm incredibly humbled by this situation and how Charlie died for what he believed in. Could I say the same for myself? Would I be willing to die? That's a sobering question. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, no. And I mean, I think it's the reason that I did what I did, right? Is at the same time that I'm dealing with rape that's real and trying to really prosecute that and get justice, because I firmly believe that God gives us dads to be the model of a Christ-like man, right? To love us. And so, especially when dads violate their children, that's, you know, that's really important to me. And so I joke that the only thing that could have gotten me off of what I was doing with oil and gas wells was raping children and being asked to run, and seeing that those, as a mom, that those crimes were not being prosecuted. Right. And it was God. I had a plan, and God's like, Sarah, I'm sorry, but your plan is not my plan. And until you listen to my plan, your life is going to be difficult. And I'll tell you, my life has been really, really great in all aspects of it since I really just surrendered and said, okay, I don't exactly understand what the plan is here. But for years, I've been saying, I think we need to be growing hemp and cleaning up the produced water out here in West Texas, which we have too much of it from our oil and gas production.
Yes.
And it's a plant, and God gave it to us. And I think that it's really unfortunate through the years you've had this reefer madness type taint. And my mom, who's a very biblical woman, right, believes that, you know, we got into a debate this summer, and that she believes that the Bible says that being intoxicated is a sin. Right. And I was like, okay, Mom, but can you appreciate maybe that the plant doesn't always have to be intoxicating? And there are ways to use it in a manner that's not sinful, and instead gets rid of the, you know, the booze and the
pills,
pharmaceuticals, and all of the things, right? And I think once I just realized the science behind our bodies and the endocannabinoid system, and just from years and years of personal trial and error, right? I think it really does have a lot of beneficial uses.
Absolutely. So. And I mean, you know, I say this all the time. If the church understood exactly what it is and what it isn't, and there's so much focus on the high part. Absolutely, you can get high. Absolutely. So what? You get high taking Benadryl, NyQuil. You get high. I mean, you get high on sugar and caffeine. There's lots of things that people think are completely normal and acceptable that will impair you. But for some reason, when it comes to the plant, that's what all anybody wants to focus on. Before we had THC products available, I sold tons of non-intoxicating CBD and changed people's lives. Non-intoxicating CBD changed my life, that set this course. And God gave me the name CannaBama and a vision of what to do, because he allowed me to see that this concerted effort, especially with the pharmaceutical industry, we're enslaved as a country. We are enslaved. We use more pharmaceuticals than most of the rest of the world combined. Everyone's impaired or under the influence of something. And half the population's walking around with a Ziploc bag full of orange bottles. You know, and they plan their lives around their pills. I did. I'm almost 11 years clean from an opioid addiction. Same thing. I planned my entire life around when was I going to get more pills, you know, and it's sick. And if the church understood how much in bondage most of that congregation already is, and then how we've been able to take non-intoxicating hemp products and set them free from those addictions. And I'm not just talking about pills. I'm talking about street heroin, meth, alcohol, all the things. I have seen it. As a person in recovery, I could testify that it can absolutely get you through the detoxification process with little to no withdrawal symptoms. And there's nothing on the planet that because I white knuckled it and did that for 3 years and took all the things that they said would help me, and it didn't. And this changed my life. And I immediately knew this could change recovery. Most recovery programs are based out of the church. And until the church is willing to hear us out, you know, I think I would love to have a conversation with Charlie Kirk before he died about this, because I know he personally was not a user, but I know that he was supportive of our right as adults to choose our medicine. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk more with Sarah Stogner from Texas. Stay with us.
FM Talk 1065, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority, and Dr. Bill Williams.
The Gulf Coast to expect mostly clear skies tonight. Low temperatures will be in the upper 60s at daybreak. For Tuesday, sunny with highs around 90. And the outlook for Wednesday, sunny skies with highs in the lower 90s. This is meteorologist Dr. Bill Williams for FM Talk 1065.
FM Talk 1065, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority.
Hi, I'm Cherish Lombard, WKRG News 5. Chaos at a birthday party in Theodore, where a woman was hit by a car and a man was hit in the head. Mobile police arrested 34-year-old Darian Mansfield. They say he was at the party on Baptiste Road South off Dolphin Island Parkway when he got into an argument with other people there. Officers say that's when Mansfield grabbed an object and used it to hit a man in his head, then got in his car and used it to hit a woman, the house, a water slide, a grill, and another car. Police tell us both victims will survive, and Mansfield faces assault and criminal mischief charges. A deadly crash in Mobile County. State troopers say one car was involved in the accident on Bellengrath Road near Delchamps Road. They say just before 2 o'clock Saturday morning, the Cadillac SRX left the road, hit a tree, then burst into flames. The driver has not yet been identified. Airbus is celebrating 10 years of building commercial aircraft in Mobile. The company began with around 300 employees in the port city and now employs more than 2,000. Their 600th aircraft will be delivered this year. Cherish Lombard, WKRG News 5. Coverage you can count on.
The Humble Hemp Shack has been your home for safely sourced hemp products since 2019. Now we are asking for your help. Alabama House Bill 445 was recently signed into law and will significantly impact Alabamians' right to safe, quality hemp products. This bill takes money from the hands of farmers and small business owners and puts it right back into the hands of dealers. You can help by supporting local hemp businesses and by donating to the legal fund found on thehumblehempshack.com, paid for by the Humble Hemp Shack, LLC.
A dog? I'm not. I was born for a purpose, to bring you hope, to guide you out of darkness, to stand by you as you rediscover life. When past battles cloud your mind, I push them away. You tell me I'm your hero, just as you are mine. You hold me when you're afraid, whisper that I saved you. With me by your side, no challenge is too great, no night too dark. I'm your guide, your companion, your friend, your light. A dog? I'm not. With me, you see the world again.
Discover hope at Dogs Inc. Visit us at dogsinc.org to learn more.
Welcome back to Sweet Home CannaBama. Now with all the information you want about cannabis, here's your host, Jennifer Boozer.
Welcome back, everybody. Tonight we're talking with Sarah Stogner, who is a DA in West Texas, who lit up a joint on TikTok and upset some people. Sarah, what was the response from the citizens, your followers on TikTok, and from your district, your colleagues, kind of your work people? Tell us about that. I'm curious how people responded. I know how I responded.
Yeah, I'd say like 95% were very supportive, right? Of like, we get you, Sarah, you're non-traditional. A lot of people thanked me for using my voice, right? Like I have a unique, because of my position in law enforcement as the ultimate authority of
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is nice to have a friend in law enforcement. I've talked to lots of them personally in different positions, from sheriffs and city police to, lawyers and even a DA. And they all say the same thing, but they don't say it publicly. And that, I think, is the problem. So I definitely applaud you. So you say 95% of your followers. What about your colleagues?
Oh, yeah. So, I told everyone at my office before I did it.
Oh, well, that was nice of you.
I told local law enforcement, right? Like I tried to tell everyone like, hey, I'm going to do this, and everyone don't freak out because there are potential repercussions, right? And I think that's another thing that people are like, well, and we could talk about it later. There's actually been a motion to disqualify me that's been filed. And one of the things that they're saying is, that I've proven that I will flagrantly violate the law, like just blatantly violate the law.
Right.
And I have, and I think that yes, unjust laws should be violated, and I am prepared to deal with those consequences. And if they want to try to arrest me on federal charges for trafficking it from New Mexico to Texas, if they think that's what justice deserves, then me, the mom, the lawyer, the DA, I am putting myself personally on the line for the cause, and I'm willing to make that sacrifice because I don't think that's what justice looks like. And I think we all know that. And that's why, but it's sad because we're still arresting people for it. We're still using it to target specifically, people of color. That's an inconvenient truth that people don't like talking about.
It is.
And I try to keep it from being political because I am small government, fiscal responsibility, right? Like I think, and so, I think that the government should be out of our lives as much as possible. And at the end of the day, this is a plant that we can grow. And like, if anybody's ever had a garden, it's really difficult to grow. Like it's not like there's going to be this wild, crazy reefer madness of like, actually no, to have nice things. It's difficult. It's not just, it's right. There's some,
I can't even get tomatoes to grow properly. I would never myself try to grow cannabis because I know what an epic failure that would be. And some people will, but most people don't get their own tomatoes from their garden. They get them from a store. They get them from a place that we know it has been approved and, FDA approved facilities that are clean and have standards. There are laws. I get so sick of people calling it unregulated. There is regulation. So, could we use more? Absolutely. Do we need it? Yes, we've asked for it. But this is just a bridge too far. And what is happening in Texas has already happened in Alabama. And so that's one of the reasons that I wanted to talk to you, because we have an attorney general and some DAs here that do not agree with you. I believe our attorney general wrote a white paper on how legalizing medical cannabis would create a second opioid crisis, which is lunacy. Dare I use the word idiotic, because there's no comparison there. But it is refreshing to hear from somebody who is prosecuting people who break the law. But from what I understand, from what you've said, from what I've read of your writing, interviews and stuff, we have more serious issues to deal with than people smoking hemp or eating gummies that are more than 10 milligrams. We have child rape, we have murder, you have theft, and and you're out there in that. I like that show, The Landman.
I'm in the middle of it.
And I have been to Midland, Odessa Airport and Pecos and seen. I could never. I don't know how you live out there. It's so dry, but I have. It's rough out there, and there are much more serious things at hand, and to testing. One of the most unrealistic parts of this is testing. Are we not backlogged for years on rape kits and things like that in most places? And like you said, there are sexual assault cases against children not being prosecuted because of issues with evidence. I mean, there are so many more vital and important issues at hand to deal with and people to prosecute than putting people in jail for a nonviolent consumption of a plant that has never killed anyone, by the way.
Yeah, and I think it's just not just, yes, that's totally part of it, but I think the even bigger picture, and the reason that I decided to protest, is the current debates that we're having in our legislatures about, are we going to reschedule? Are we going to, no, it should be descheduled.
Absolutely.
It should be, we're having the wrong discussions. And this has been slowly happening over time, right? Over the past decades. And big interest, big money is grubbing their little hands at this. And I'm like, no, guys, again, we are having the wrong debate.
Absolutely.
And so I think it's really important that, yes, as much as I agree that we should all, adults should have the ability to use, we're legalizing ivermectin. You trust people to self-diagnose themselves with ivermectin and self-medicate with ivermectin, and they can't have a plant.
Right.
Oh, that's because someone's manufacturing ivermectin and they're making money off of it. If one person could clearly legalize the plant and make all the money, it would get done.
Right.
Right. And so that's what's so frustrating to me is, on the one side, the political gamesmanship because it's like the only thing that both Republicans and Democrats can actually agree on.
Right. I agree. I agree. But descheduling, I mean, rescheduling would be catastrophic. You know, they're like, oh, well, you know, current cannabis businesses would have better tax situation, better this, better that. For what? They'll be out of business.
Yeah,
if you make it pharmaceutical, CVS and Walgreens will be making all the money. You'll be able to buy great value weed at Walmart, and God knows what that'll look like. You know, no one wants that. No one wants that. Not the consumers, not the current industry. And you're talking about this industry was built off of the backs of rebels, people hiding in the mountains and in the deserts, creating this culture and growing and utilizing this medicine and researching it and then teaching the masses. And then later on with the 2018 Farm Bill, people like me getting on the radio and getting in our stores and holding classes and holding court and teaching people what it is, what it isn't, you know, how it works, how to use it. And now you want to take this market that has been built by the regular Joe people with every obstacle known to man in place to keep it from succeeding. And somehow we've succeeded because that's how amazing this plant is. And now you want to take that and give it to Walgreens, CVS, and Walmart? No, and Pfizer, and give me a break. You know, that's not okay. Nobody wants that. Those companies never made anything better. And they'll end up doing to cannabis what Philip Morris and R.J. Reynolds did to tobacco. You know, and it'll be toxic and require you to need more pills, I'm sure.
Yep.
Well, so in your experience, though, does smoking as a DA, your experience looking out at society from the worst lens possible, do you think smoking hemp or cannabis has caused crime to go up or made people commit violence?
No, absolutely not. Now, let's talk about meth. Let's talk about fentanyl, right? Let's talk about some of the other things. Absolutely.
Well, and you can even say that having an illegal black market, which thrives in states like Texas and Alabama and Louisiana and Mississippi, where they're banning hemp out of existence now, and people are having to go back to the black market. One of the mayoral candidates here is a judge. He said half of all the murder cases were for low-level street weed deals because there's a thriving black market and people are competitive, and that violence, yes, occurs when there is not a legal market in place to legitimize it. He even went on to say, I've never heard of anybody getting shot outside of CannaBama, which was my store, which was an amazing distinction because that's true. You know, nobody felt unsafe, you know, or sketchy when they came into a legitimate business with a license on the wall from the state. And, you know, and they don't know where to turn now. But the only violence I can think of is people fighting over territory in the black market. But it doesn't cause domestic violence. It certainly doesn't cause abuse and all that. And from my experience, you usually people driving under the speed limit. Paranoid.
It usually there is, people don't understand that alcohol specifically has some physiological impairments that is just, it necessarily happens no matter how much of a professional drunk you are.
Right.
And even if you look fine, sound fine, can't tell, your eye nystagmus, it behaves differently. And so, you know, there are some distinct dangers with drinking and driving, and we have the research now and we have the tests. And since, just like seatbelts, right? Once you can implement smart, unfortunately, people are too dumb to take care of themselves.
Right.
And it takes the government saying, okay, don't be a dumbass. You know, unfortunately, that's kind of where we're at. But I think that I do that there's this hope for like a moment in time for those of us that have some common sense to come together and say, okay, like, the next generation of politicians, the next generation of doctors, the next generation of people that want to take control of their health, that want to have alternatives. So we've got to, on the criminal side, we've got to decriminalize it, and we've got to open up the legal market, because right now we're just getting the reject stuff. Whatever California, Colorado, Oregon, Washington, whatever rejects their testing, it magically shows up here. And yeah, we've got little cartels in the high schools.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Nope. I happen to know that that is absolutely true here in Alabama too. And it's funny because I don't know any business owners in across the state of Alabama, and I have the privilege of knowing lots and lots of them because of this show. But I don't know anybody that doesn't get incredibly angry at even the subject of selling to kids. And in my experience, having teenage children in my life, they're getting it on Snapchat and from their friends. They are, somebody willing to send them product from another state, and then they're carrying around at their backpack at school selling it. And our businesses are being shut down to save the children because we're bad actors. And it literally makes no sense. I know we have our own version of Lieutenant Dan in Alabama. We'll get onto that topic in just a moment when we come back from the break with Sarah Stogner. Stay with us.
The Humble Hemp Shack has been your home for safely sourced hemp products since 2019. Now we are asking for your help. Alabama House Bill 445 was recently signed into law and will significantly impact Alabamians' right to safe, quality hemp products. This bill takes money from the hands of farmers and small business owners and puts it right back into the hands of dealers. You can help by supporting local hemp businesses and by donating to the legal fund found on thehumblehempshack.com, paid for by the Humble Hemp Shack, LLC.
Right arm, right leg. Left leg, left arm. Both legs above the knee. Both legs, part of my left hand. Lost both my legs in Iraq.
These 9/11 veterans are just a few of the heroes we serve at Homes for Our Troops. For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers. So we build specially adapted homes with features like wheelchair access, roll-in showers, and pull-down cabinets that allow them to function independently and focus on their recovery and family. This life-changing gift of freedom is provided mortgage-free to these veterans, thanks to our donors and supporters. But we need you to join us too in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Welcome back to Sweet Home CannaBama. Now with all the information you want about cannabis, here's your host, Jennifer Boozer.
Welcome back, everybody. We're talking with Sarah Stogner, who is district attorney for the 143rd Judicial District in West Texas. I just was saying right before the break that we have our own version of Lieutenant Dan, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, officially, but we call him Lieutenant Dan in the industry. Representative Andy Witt here in Alabama, and the theatrics alone, the lengths these men have gone to and made fools of themselves to keep this. What is it?
I was going to say, is this the Witt that has the barbecue? Because I would be just really devastated if Witt's barbecue from back home.
I don't believe so. No, I've never heard that. No.
Okay, good. I heard the name, and all I could think was, now I need some Witt's barbecue.
It's definitely not him. If there is a Witt barbecue that he is adjacent to, I have not heard that.
Okay.
He works at a bank, but he's not really great at like just regular old math. He said that if you wanted to have a stronger gummy, because they're limiting us to 10 milligrams, you could just take 10 gummies and that equals 50 milligrams. Yes, enjoy that. I like to call him Representative Nitwit. Anyway, just the theatrics and the lengths that these men went to, the absolute crazy things they said. Hometown Hero has been great at keeping all of us informed out of Texas on TikTok. Just day to day, and the specials that they've done in his name, it's the t-shirts, it's hilarious. But it's sad because they must know how stupid they look and how stupid they sound at this point. But they won. Well, they did in Alabama anyway. And Governor Abbott, I mean, say what you will about the man. He vetoed SB 3 and then allowed for the special session and gave his kind of guardrails that he wanted to see put up. They couldn't get that resolved. So now he's got this executive order, which immediately makes 21 and up the law. We had already had a law like that in Alabama in 23, and then HB 445 solidified that again. And they're going to be, I guess, honing their rules on his executive order. So, thank God, the governor had what it takes to buck the system there with Lieutenant Dan, because I don't know who he sold his soul to, but honey, it was the wrong one. He is a fool, and I cannot imagine how anybody in Texas would ever vote for him again. But let's talk about
old people, right?
What?
It's like
old people?
It's the old people. It's the boomer generation.
You know what? Give me a room full of boomers, because my oldest customer was 98. Okay.
Yeah.
And the 65 and older crowd will be out consuming millennials in the next few years. And that was the statistic I was told 10 years, about 8 years ago. So we're getting to the point where the older generation, they're sick and tired of being sick and tired and having 15 different pills to take every day and still can't hardly function, and they're losing their minds and ending up in a home with dementia because of the medication they're on. And they're not stupid any more than we are. It might have taken them a little while to come around, but so many people that are older. I mean, my average customer was probably over 40. And that's I never had any 18-year-olds come in.
Yeah, and I think, my thing on the executive order is, well, if he could have just done it with an executive order, why did we try in the session?
Why the circus?
So I'm not sure, I haven't looked at the validity of that. But I mean, all of the folks that were here that I'm aware of that are reputable hemp folks were already carding, right? They weren't selling.
Exactly.
But again, it's a headline, right? It's a yay. And it's a distraction from the bigger picture, I think.
Right. It was crazy in Alabama. We had 8 different ban bills thrown at us, and we could barely keep up week to week. And when they do that to you, it makes it really hard. And then we were limited. I saw in Texas, they let 200 people testify from like 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. We had 2 people for 2 minutes. And that's after we went to the press when Senator Melson said we would not be allowed to speak. And we hammered them in the press until they caved and let 2 people speak for 2 minutes. And what happened in Texas needed to happen in Alabama, and maybe we could have avoided our bill as well. I do want to, before we run out of time, I want to bring up the fact that there is a defendant in your district who has filed a motion to disqualify you as district attorney based on your TikTok video and smoking on a public forum. Tell me about that, because I'm reading this going, what the heck? And it's got color photos and everything.
Yeah, so it's a novel argument. It's basically, he's somehow alleging that my saying that I'm willfully violating the law is a violation of his due process rights, which I have no idea how that would work. Usually, in a motion to disqualify, it would be like if I had represented him as a defense attorney and now was a prosecutor or a judge on the case, right? Like you can't
conflict of interest.
Roles. Yeah, exactly. And so I don't know. I'm hopeful that we have a hearing next week, and I'm hopeful that the judge will see it for what it is, which is just a delay and kind of a dog and pony show to avoid. He doesn't want to go to trial on his child sexual assault case, and I understand that.
That was my next question. What can we have an idea of what he's being prosecuted for? But wow, he's trying to basically crucify you for smoking a joint on TikTok. And this says, to ensure due process, a district attorney must be unimpeachably devoted to the neutral application of the law.
Which I am.
Right.
That's why I did what I did.
Right. And you've even said on tonight and other places that you're prepared to face any consequences should any come. That you were making a statement knowing full well what could happen. And if it did, you were prepared to deal with that. And this guy obviously is trying to get away with sexual assault of a minor. That is insane right now. I didn't realize that. That's why I wanted to wait, because I knew it was probably crazy, but I wanted to wait to ask you till we got on here. But wow, dude, really? Do you think any judge is going to be fooled by this?
Hey, I think it sounds kind of compelling when you listen, you read it. He's a smart lawyer, argues in front of the Fifth Circuit frequently, smart guy. And so I think it's novel, but I don't think it passes muster. Now, what would be interesting is if they filed a civil petition to have me removed. It's called the Rogue Prosecutor Bill. And so if, for example, I was saying I'm not going to prosecute any marijuana cases, which I haven't said.
Right.
I've said you've put me in the impossible position of trying to prosecute these. Then they would have grounds to remove me. Or if I was like,
well, if he was a weed trafficker, I could see him coming with this if he was being prosecuted for trafficking and saying, well, hey, if the DA can do it, why can't I? That I can make sense of that. But this is insanity, and what does you doing that have to do with what he did? Can he get you disqualified as district attorney, or does he think that no other district attorney behind you would prosecute him?
Well, yeah, so that would be the relief, right? The relief would just be removing me, and he'd actually probably get a more experienced prosecutor. At the end of the day, you might be careful what you wish for, right?
Play stupid games, get stupid prizes. I mean, there's plenty of predators out there that will do anything to distract from what's actually happening, take the attention off of them. But there's no way you can take a DA smoking a joint on TikTok and just magically wave a wand and disappear a sexual assault case against a child. That is absolute lunacy. It's embarrassing even, and you're right. Who knows who he would get, who would prosecute him with more experience and vigor and have an even worse sentence. I mean, throw away the key, in my opinion, on this guy. If he's guilty and you can prove your case, good riddance. But this is an insane way to try to, delay it? That's the best you could hope for here is a delay.
Yeah, I think so at this point.
Well, what do you think ultimately will happen in Texas and nationwide from your perspective? Do you think that hemp stands a chance? Do you think that the big canna, big pharma, big alcohol, big tobacco guys, do you think they're going to try to they are trying to wipe us out. Do you think that hemp stands a chance?
Yeah, I do. I'm hopeful that we're at this tipping point where the gates were opened by the Farm Bill. Like, let's be realistic.
Right.
And they may not have understood what they were doing, but they did it.
Well, so, I don't agree that they didn't understand. And we're at the end of the show. Thank you so much to Sarah. Thank you so much for being on the show. And next week, we're going to have American Idol's own Bo Bice on the show to talk about veterans and cannabis in the state of Alabama. Thank you so much, Sarah, for being with us.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week. God bless you, and God bless Alabama hemp.